Hey guys, if you've been following our channel, you know that we are big into propagating various types of trees. We propagate willow trees from cuttings, weeping willows. We do a lot of Leyland Cypress trees. We grow oak trees from acorns on top of all the gardening and other horticultural projects we have going on. And so I want to talk to you today about a great way to find Leyland Cypress trees and other trees to propagate with cuttings. It is the end of May 2018, and we've been going through some heavy rains, heavy windstorms. There's a hurricane coming up from the south. We're in Virginia. There's a big storm coming up from further south. And yesterday, while I was out and about in town, I just happened to go by a place where somebody had lost a Leyland Cypress tree to heavy winds. They were cutting it up, getting ready for the junk truck to come pick it up because they live in town. And I simply stopped and said, "Hey, what are you doing with that tree?" And they said, "We're getting rid of it." "Why?" And I said, "Well, can I have some of it to make cuttings?" I explained to them what I do, and they looked at me like I was crazy, but they said yes. So I'm just going to show you what I got. Check this out. And now we're going to make some smaller cuttings. I've got a bunch more in here, and that's all I could fit in here, and I didn't even have a saw with me. But I know where the tree is, and I'm going back tomorrow with the saw, and I'm bringing more of it home. But not only are we going to make small cuttings, which we've shown you how to do in other videos, and we'll link probably our best video as far as how to propagate Leyland Cypress through cuttings to the end of this video, so we don't have to spend too much time on that. But predominantly what I wanted is I wanted the top of this tree because we've got 3 trees that were killed by deer this past fall with when they were in their rut. They were rubbing them with their antlers. They're dead. We're going to replace those, and instead of spending $24 in December when these trees are out of season, which is a great deal, you know, for a 4-foot Leyland Cypress or 3-foot Leyland Cypress, we're going to go ahead and root big cuttings from the tops of this one, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. When you root trees, you need to make sure that the base of your tree that you're trying to root gets air. That there's pockets of air so that the roots can start to sprout out of the stem. And you can do it in water, you can do it in sand. The way we're doing it, we're going to be using a mixture of sand and black gold or leaf mold, and I'll explain that more at that part of the video. We have a pile of it down there where we're getting ready. But as you can see, my son Daniel here in the US, you say hi, buddy.
Hi.
Is getting sand. We have a very small creek that feeds into our pond, and we had some flash floods yesterday, and I'm telling you folks, Mother Nature gives you gifts if you know how to spot them. You know, the storm came through, it gave us a ton of Leyland Cypress cuttings that we're able to make from the misfortune somebody else had of losing a tree. But every time the floods come through, it gives us all this sand, and we come down and get it for whatever purposes we use it for on the homestead. Because if we wait, it'll get washed away and dispersed and disappear. But for now, we're getting sand. You can buy sand for $3 a bag at Lowe's if you don't have access to sand. But I'm going to show you what the sand's used for next. Okay, so this is the Leyland Cypress tree that we're going to replace with a large cutting from the Leyland Cypress I got from someone in town who lost a tree due to wind damage. Now, I want to talk to you for a second about planting or replacing a Leyland Cypress tree in the same spot as one that didn't make it. I can do that with this one because I know this tree died due to deer damage. We didn't get our tree guards around it in last year's rut season. Come a little closer, honey, make sure they're getting a good view. And so the deer, show them this right here, it scraped off the bark with its antlers to mark its territory, and as a result, the tree didn't make it through the winter. It died due to sub-freezing temperatures. So in this case, I can dig this up, which I'm going to do, and I can put my new tree, if I had a new tree, or my cutting I'm going to make, my large cutting, in this hole. However, if this tree were to have died due to any sort of disease, like one of the, any of the blights or the cankers that affect Leyland cypresses, I wouldn't want to do that because that disease might still be in the root system or even in the soil of the dead tree, and I wouldn't want to expose my new tree to the disease. So next we're going to show you, well, you know what? I'm going to show you this now so you see that I'm actually doing this. I want my cutting to be about 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet. So I'm just going to take my limb saw and I'm just going to cut off my Leyland Cypress. Now watch, I'm going to bury quite a bit of this, so I'm going to cut off the limbs, and we're going to use those to make cuttings in what we call our tree lab, which is our nursery out back. I'm just cutting these off so that I can, that should be enough. I'm going to bury it about up to there. And now we're going to take a break for me to remove this and prepare the hole. And we're going to show you that next. But before I do, a lot of people are probably saying, that's crazy, you can't make cuttings that big. Honey, let's walk them over here and show them these weeping willow trees. Follow me. Come on, silly. Hey, buddy. Hey. Say hi. Hello. Here's our cat. We make our videos as a family unit. She hangs out with us too. But we showed you this in a video here about 3 weeks ago. These are weeping willow tree cuttings that are like 4 to 6 feet high. Nobody don't get in front of the camera. Okay. We wanted to see if we could root trees this big, cuttings this big. So we tied them together, stuck them in the pond. Come closer, honey, show them the roots. Can you get the camera down there to show all the roots? Well, they're tangled up in seaweed. Yeah. See those roots? Are you getting a good view of all those roots? Mm-hmm. Over there on the end. See all those roots, folks? Right there in the center. Okay, now back up. Show them this. Honey, show them this. Don't back up too far yet. Look at this. New growth, new limbs coming up out of the giant cuttings. So in time, we're going to either stick these directly in the ground where we want them or in big parts, but we're going to prepare our hole for our giant Leyland Cypress cutting, and we're going to show you how to do that next. Okay, so as you can see, I removed the dead tree, and I spotted something here I want to show you. Honey, come here closer. As soon as I pulled this tree up, I see clean soil, and I see nice, big, healthy, juicy earthworms. Guys, not only do these help nourish your soil and break down organic matter, this is an indication that this soil is still healthy. I mentioned to you earlier that if this tree had died from disease, we wouldn't want to put it in here and give the new tree the same disease. If this tree had died from disease, you might not be seeing these worms. So this is just more confirmation, and there's a big rock in there, that this is a healthy spot to plant my tree. Now, we got sand for a reason. I'm going to use sand first. And this stuff is heavy. But when you're rooting a tree, the stem or the trunk, the parts it's rooting, needs to have spaces of air in order for the roots to come through. You saw we root in water sometimes. Water is soluble, obviously, and it's not constricting. If I were to put this cutting in here and just pack the soil that I just dug up out of here, it might not root as well. Now this soil is a little sandy, so it might actually root in time. But to make sure that this tree gets a good start rooting, I'm going to use a base of sand to get it in, and this will also provide stability and allow the tree to be positioned the way I want it to be positioned. So I'm just taking sand out of here, making me a little, like a sand castle in a hole. Okay, so let's see if that's enough. I'm simply going to take my Leyland Cypress and I'm going to shove it down there in the sand. Okay. Now guys, this will take months. I mean, it's the end of May. We've got plenty of time. And I mean, it'll take it all year. But, and folks, sometimes it doesn't work. I mentioned before in other videos, so much of this is trial and error. If it doesn't work, we'll try again. But you know, we did some apple tree cuttings earlier this year, about 2 months ago. We put some in sand, we put some in water, and we had a little place where I wanted our next apple orchard to be, so we just stuck some right in the ground. And guess what? The ones we stuck right in the ground and we did not use sand for those are doing better than anything else. They've taken root and they're growing new leaves. Okay, now from here, I'm going to show you what I like to do when I'm putting trees in the ground. We use leaf mold, also known as black gold, which is decaying oak leaves. We went up to our black gold mine up on top of our hill behind our original apple orchard, where we have a big old giant oak tree. I got poked by something, briar. And we dig up all this decaying matter. Now, this is not so much important for this tree right now, because there's no roots coming out for nourishment. So right now the sand is what's most important to stabilize the tree and allow for pockets of air so the roots can come out. But now when the roots do come out, they're going to come out to some good eating because they're going to have black gold everywhere. Okay, and then on top of the black gold, I'm kind of layering here. This is called layering. Here's my tertiary layer, or third layer. I'm just going to take some of the soil from the tree I just dug up, put over top of the black gold, and then I'm going to use, and there's another big fat juicy earthworm, and then I'm going to use the sod, just place it on top there. This is going to hold it all down. I'm even going to use that big rock I got to support it up here in the front. Okay. Now, you can see that we went from having this, I'm going to use this soil too. I'm going to move this out of the way, just so we're not getting this in the video shot there, because look at that, folks. Check out this before and after. You had this ugly, nasty before tree killed by a deer, and we'll dispose of that later, let it dry out and burn it. Now we have the after. Now if you do this, be knowledgeable of the fact that a lot of times when you're rooting new growth trees, things will appear to get worse before they get better. Over the next few weeks or a couple of months, it might appear as if this thing's dying off, and part of it might from the inside out. If it's doing it from the inside out, it's perfectly okay. That's called natural dieback, and even large cuttings will do it. But by the end of this year, going into fall, this thing should take root, remain green. It might turn a little brownish in the winter like most of our Leyland cypresses do, but by next spring, by this time next spring, it should look just like this, and we're going to do our best to keep the deer off of it this fall. So it's looks much better now in our tree line than the brown one. We hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you learned something from it. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, Homesteading Off the Grid.